In December 2022, the market value of the Facebook company, now known as Meta, tanked an astonishing $80 billion. On top of that, it laid off 11,000 people, or around 13% of its total workforce, and things are about to get worse. Investors are highly skeptical that the company's audacious metaverse bet will be lucrative anytime soon, whereas I believe that Zuckerberg's metaverse quest is already on the brink of collapse. What exactly is wrong with the metaverse? Why is Zuck so obsessed with it? Why is it already a dumpster fire? And why will it suffer the fate of countless other tech failures of the past decades? Number 1, it isn't solving anything. The number one reason the metaverse will fail, woefully in fact, is that it's not solving anything real. Let's hear from Mark Zuckerberg himself on how he defines the metaverse. It will be like we're right there with people no matter how far we actually are. We'll be able to express ourselves in new, joyful, completely immersive ways. The term metaverse was first used by Neil Stephenson in his 1992 science fiction novel Snow Crash, but Zuck took over the term and began working to make it a reality. According to him, the metaverse is a way for us to seamlessly integrate our virtual lives with the real one. The plan is to create a more immersive internet, where instead of enjoying physical experiences, techs like VR and AR will be used to spend time in virtual environments. Now, the best part is that instead of your real face or body showing like in a video call, you'll be represented by an avatar. This avatar will be able to move around, go to the movies with friends, have business meetings, play games, and lots more. And since this avatar represents you, you're doing all these without leaving your room. In essence, the metaverse aims at disintegrating us from our offices, the cinema, the park, and our homes, and wants us to spend our lives plugged into our VR headsets. But Reality Labs, Meta's metaverse division, lost a staggering $13.7 billion in 2022 alone, and the chances things will get worse this year are quite high. The reason the metaverse is not yielding any significant returns is that there is simply no need for it. Take, for instance, Facebook as a product. When Facebook was launched, a whole lot of people found it to be an entirely strange concept, just like the metaverse. But when they were able to connect with their friends and long-lost connections so easily, everyone wanted to join. The same goes for WhatsApp, which became the de facto messaging app for more than 2 billion users, as well as Instagram, which made clicking and sharing high-quality pictures with friends and followers so addictive. But the purpose the metaverse will serve is not at all clear. People prefer face-to-face interactions and don't want their avatars playing around with other avatars. No one wants to plug in their VR headsets for several hours daily. Besides that, the metaverse is pretty confusing, which leads us to the next reason it will crumble. Number 2, what is it really? People barely understand the concept of the metaverse. There are a lot of companies besides Meta, such as Microsoft, Apple, Epic Games, Roblox, Nvidia to name a few, that are heavily invested in the metaverse, and yet they are nowhere close to reaching a consensus on what the metaverse is. For Zuckerberg, it's this world where you can carry out all your dream activities without stepping out of your home. But for some, it's more like an internet that is somehow underpinned by the blockchain and NFTs, while to others, it's more or less like a game. The lack of consensus among those that intend to create this virtual universe makes it even harder for consumers to understand it. How would it be a universal concept if there are several definitions? Would we say we intend to use Meta's metaverse, but not Microsoft's metaverse or Epic Games' metaverse? It is just an unnecessary hassle for something that doesn't even solve any problems. Only 58% of Meta's employees understand the metaverse vision. Moreover, several of those that do understand it are quite concerned. One question asked repeatedly by staff on Facebook's internal communications platform Workplace was, how could we avoid a dystopian reality where the metaverse is used as an opium for the masses? Another top question asked was, how will we meaningfully put safety, integrity, and responsibility first in the metaverse? We barely are able to cover the real world today. So besides being a confusing concept that no one really needs, it could even have disastrous consequences for public safety. Then why is Zuckerberg so adamant on the metaverse? That brings us to the third reason why it's failing. Number 3, just a pipe dream. The big corporations that are quite invested in it are mostly doing it for the wrong reasons, especially Meta. When Facebook came into existence, it was made to serve a clear purpose. Then it became a necessity people didn't know they needed. But for the Metaverse, we can't say the same thing. Although he tries to sell the Metaverse as his dream, Zuckerberg is just trying to jump on what many consider, or considered, as the next big thing. There are claims that the Metaverse would be worth up to $5 trillion in 2030, and who wouldn't want a slice of that pie? Meta plans to invest a whopping sum of $100 billion, with $36 billion already spent within a span of 2 years. This huge investment was also prompted by the shift to e-commerce and online transactions during the pandemic. Zuckerberg believed people would find it hard to return to their former lifestyle when the pandemic ended, and if the Metaverse concept became a reality, people would make a beeline for his VR headsets. But then the pandemic ended and everyone returned to their offices and wanted to travel and stay outdoors. Zuckerberg anxiously wants the Metaverse to be the next big thing for his company, as currently his baby, Facebook, is not doing too well. Many young users have already shifted to TikTok. Also, Facebook still operates under regulations set by Apple and Google, as they together own the smartphone market through their OS. So Zuckerberg believes his new world that relies on VR/AR headsets and digital sensors would be immune to these market forces. Although thousands of skilled engineers are working hard to make Zuckerberg's dream metaverse a reality, it's quite frustrating for them as he changes the direction of the project on a whim. Several executives have butted heads over the company's metaverse strategy, and one senior executive even said that the billions spent to achieve Zuckerberg's dream makes him sick to his stomach. Well, you can't blame Zuck for constant twists and turns. It is extremely hard to create a solid strategy with an unclear purpose, and that shows up in the actual user experience as well. Number 4, you're not missing out. If you have listened to any of Zuckerberg's explanations of the metaverse, the whole idea might entice you and you might feel like dropping everything and diving into the metaverse that very minute. But again, the reality is it's just pure hype. Shirin Ghaffari, a senior Vox correspondent, related her experience when she stepped into Meta's metaverse using the Meta Quest headset. At first, she was thrilled by it. She enjoyed customizing her avatar, playing games, and watching YouTube videos in 3D. She also attended a mock meeting just to get a feel of what it's like. Although the avatars had no feet at the time, the participants were all seated around a table and she could draw a note on a virtual chalkboard. Then reality set in, when after a few hours she felt suffocated, nauseous, and hot. The weight of the headset on her face was quite discomforting, and all she wanted to do was take it off. In her words, "The initial wonder I had felt started to drain away. It's hard to imagine myself hanging out in the current version of Facebook's metaverse for long stretches of time." In another instance, David Karpf, a professor at George Washington University, bought the $1,500 headset and only used it thrice, hoping each time he would find more use for it. But in the end, he packed it in a box, and the chances of him using it again are quite slim. Some might argue that if the current virtual worlds such as Meta's Horizon Worlds, Second Life, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, Microsoft Mesh, and much more were connected and interoperable, it would make the metaverse experience more fulfilling. But the reality is that it's not a necessity, because there's nothing urgent about wanting to transfer digital assets from Fortnite to Horizon Worlds. The narration of Shirin and David's ordeal with the headset and the metaverse, and the baseless arguments for interoperability, clearly show that it's just pure hype. The metaverse being a necessity is not true, and for this reason, it's headed for failure. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, there's the issue of the actual users of the metaverse. Number 5, nobody wants it. If nobody is paying for and using the concept you have invested billions in, it will fail. This is exactly what's going on with the metaverse. Meta set a target of 500,000 users of Horizon Worlds, which is its version of the metaverse, by the end of 2022. And initially, it had 300,000 users. Then, in just a few months, 100,000 users lost interest, and only 200,000 users were left. And now, Meta has even refused used to reveal further data about Horizon Worlds. It's quite peculiar because Meta Quest 2, Meta's newly released VR headset, is currently leading the market. So how is it possible that only a few people are using Horizon Worlds? That means either people are using the headset to enjoy other VR experiences like Fortnite or Minecraft, or they got the headset out of curiosity and dumped it back in a box afterwards. Internal memos leaked in October 2022 revealed that even the people creating the metaverse are not using it. Meta Vice President Vishal Shah urged staff to use its products and wrote, "If we don't love it, how can we expect our users to love it? Everyone in this organization should make it their mission to fall in love with Horizon Worlds." It might be hard for Meta employees to follow this order as the product isn't inherently satisfying. Even gamers would rather go on Roblox or Minecraft than use Horizon Worlds. The activities on Horizon Worlds are more like demonstrations than the actual experience you hope for. Although the 3D motion and audio are of good quality, the graphics seem very basic and 2 decades behind anything you would find on your PlayStation or Xbox. And it's not just Horizon Worlds that has failed to capture user interest. Most people are not interested in the metaverse at all, not even big organizations. A recent report states that 42% of organizations do not have any perceivable interest or are paying attention to the metaverse at all, and a further 39% have adopted a wait-and-see attitude. Of course, big tech companies are very interested in the metaverse because they don't want to miss out if it becomes the next big thing. But many other big corporations seem unfazed by all the noise around it, having learned from what went down with Google Glass. Google Glass was intended to set the stage for the AR revolution, and there was a lot of hype around it. It was a brand of smart glasses that allowed the wearer to communicate with the internet using voice commands. Besides that, it could also perform other functions like filming things discreetly. However, limited battery life, privacy concerns, outrageous cost, and the fact that it didn't add much value and just supplemented reality led to its eventual downfall. 2 years later, Google announced that they would no longer produce the consumer version of the glasses. All the hype around it ended up being for nothing. What happened with Google Glass sounds dangerously close to what's going on with the metaverse. It is not solving any problems nor adding any value, so the only thing Zuckerberg and the rest are banking on is the hype they've created around the concept and the impressive technology being used. Users are currently not buying the hype, and the idea that if more money is pumped into the metaverse, more people will gain interest is merely the investors grasping at straws. Meta's investments are basically a bid to not be outpaced in technology by its counterparts. You can see that from its recent decision to form a top-level product group for generative AI. It does not want to miss the hype train created by ChatGPT and where its big tech competitors have established an early lead, with Google's Bard and Microsoft's Bing AI chatbots. That brings us to a more economical reason why the metaverse will fail. Number 6. There ain't no money. Excessive spending has affected the company. Its major source of revenue, Facebook ads, has taken a hit due to competition and a global economic crisis. By December 2022, Meta's stock had fallen almost 70% from its peak, wiping $80 billion from the company's value. But the stock has since recovered a bit. One major reason for the hit on ad revenue is Apple's app tracking transparency feature for iPhone users. Meta no longer has free access to users' online behavior like before due to ATT. And this data is essential for Facebook and Instagram ads to better target users and provide effective results to advertisers. Many advertisers now prefer using Google Ads since it does not rely on Apple for its data. Another reason for Meta's drop is that Facebook and Instagram are losing to the TikTok mania. One major factor that investors care about when deciding to invest in a stock is the potential for future growth. Seeing that most younger users are moving to TikTok and Snapchat, the chances for future growth for Meta's cash cow products seem limited as of now. Now that Meta doesn't have enough money to splurge, it would have to cut back the amount invested in the metaverse. It will die a slow death before even being properly launched. The company has even been forced to lay off 11,000 of its workers, about 13% of the total workforce, and more could follow. This layoff is the first in the company's 18 years of existence. Although none of Reality Labs' employees were laid off, they don't have access to resources as before. Don't get me wrong, I have no agenda against the metaverse, but I'm here to state facts. And it's quite clear at this point that the metaverse, as it is headed for nothing but failure. But do you think there is a chance that the metaverse will succeed despite these glaring and obvious signs of catastrophic failure?